Music is a key factor in games, and with my recent top 10 best NES soundtracks, I figured I'd go down the line to the next obvious choice. Hey Shackers, Greg here, and today I'll be counting down the best musical tunes from the classic Super Nintendo. Now this list was determined by votes from our community, staff, and Twitter. Also, we're limiting it to one game per franchise, so let's be prepared to listen to what is arguably some of the best music in video game history. These are the top 10 best SNES soundtracks. The drums and jungle beats of the first Donkey Kong Country cannot go unnoticed. Still known today as some of the best music in the history of video games. Although Donkey Kong Country hit the US November of 1994, giving the composer a little more time to understand what the console was truly capable of, music-wise. The themes of Donkey Kong Country have survived for over 24 years, and will continue to do so for many more years to come. Known as Earthbound to us Americans, but also called Mother 2 in Japan, the game was one of the best JRPGs to ever be released, and inspired countless other gamers and designers to create something similar, like Undertale. However, the music was one of the key devices in this game, and it certainly had a great amount of history to it as well. Back when Nintendo released the Game Boy Advance, people everywhere in the US demanded that Earthbound be ported to the platform. At the time, there was a Japanese-only release of the game. However, the rumor was that the music in the game had a copyright violation. Years went by, and the demand that Earthbound be ported to each Nintendo handheld grew more aggressively. It wasn't until 2013 did US gamers finally get it on the Wii U Virtual Console. The Castlevania series on the NES was known for having some great tunes, and with the leap over to 16-bit on the Super Nintendo, made it even better, introducing us to new themes and stages, all with their own unique sounds and music. It was the sound upgrade that actually met gamer expectations and then completely smashed them out of the park. The third game in the Zelda franchise, people were familiar with the classic themes of the first two. However, Koji Kondo worked on soundtracks like Super Mario Bros. 2, 3, and World, as well as the first Zelda titles. He was able to challenge himself and create a well-diverse soundtrack without having to lean too much on the older themes of the franchise. The music in Zelda A Link to the Past would go on to become legendary, along with new tracks that live on to this day, like the Dark World theme. It is by far some of the best music to grace our ears on the Super Nintendo. One of the really cool things about doing a community-driven top 10 list is it may open your eyes to games, or in this case, a soundtrack you've never heard before today, and ACTRAISER is one of these soundtracks. overwhelming amount of votes for this game came through our community, and after listening to it, I can see why. The music is way ahead of the game itself. So much, it even feels a little out of place compared to the graphics. It's just a super epic soundtrack, one I was excited to hear for the first time, and probably will spend many more hours listening to it in the future. One of the first games to grace our beloved Super Nintendo Entertainment System. The music on each track stands out in its own unique way, and the themes would go on to be staples in the Nintendo universe, with multiple remixes, re-releases, and appearing in almost every Smash Bros. Game in some capacity. The music in F-Zero gets you pumped and ready to prove you're the best there is. It's a flat crime against humanity that we have not seen a new F-Zero game since 2004. But we'll wait patiently after every Nintendo announcement in hopes it ends with a new F-Zero game. Like its predecessor, Super Metroid manages yet again to take you on a thrilling adventure, alone in deep space. Again conveying a sense of dread and suspense as you blast and missile your way through enemies. The music is both with and against you, making you fear just what's around the corner or giving you the courage to continue forward. In a game as solitary as Super Metroid, the music is extremely important, as it's really your only ally you have through your journey. This soundtrack yet again confirms the importance of audio in a game, especially the music. To this day, I get chills from the spooky music I had to listen to while playing this game at a friend's house at night with the lights off. It's no surprise that Chrono Trigger made the list, let alone the top 3. The amount of support it received was staggering. With themes unique to worlds and each character, the old school music will give you goosebumps. The composer went on to do Chrono Cross and Xenosaga. The soundtrack of Chrono Trigger affected so many gamers on a personal level, it's hard to have a list without it. For even someone like me, who didn't even play it until its DS release, I can admit the soundtrack is top-notch and hard to beat. The Final Fantasy series is known for having some of the best music in gaming history, period. And although Final Fantasy IV had some great tunes, the vote swung overwhelmingly in favor of Final Fantasy VI. Nobuo had been the composer for the Final Fantasy series since the beginning, and you can see his work evolve, especially with Final Fantasy VI. In fact, you can start to hear the themes and sounds in FF6 that go even further in the famous Final Fantasy VII. It's always great to see a composer and his work evolve through the years, and the music in Final Fantasy VI is some of his best work on the Super Nintendo. By an overwhelming amount of votes, Secret of Mana shot straight to the top of this list. No other gaming soundtrack got near as much support or votes than Secret of Mana. Japanese RPGs always seem to have an abundance of great music, and the themes and sounds of Secret of Mana are some of the best. The JRPG could take up to 40 hours to complete everything the game had to offer, and thanks to its absolutely breathtaking soundtrack, it was a pleasant experience all the way to the end. What Super Nintendo soundtracks did you guys like the best? Which ones did I miss? Let us know in the comments below. For more videos like this, everything else gaming related, you're already in the right place. You're on Shacknews.com.